Yeah, good morning, everyone. Okay, turn up the sound. Okay. Due to kick off in 3 minutes, so we'll give it some time. How's this camera angle? Ooh. Just hoping for a bit of sunshine today. Guess that won't be happening. Good morning. So if you logged in, we're going to give this a couple more minutes. We're going to wait until 8 a.m. and then we're going to kick off this meditation. I'm starting a new series of online meditations now, and I think with this, doing one every morning at 8 a.m., I think it's a good way to not only get my practice, keeping it flowing, but to get other people to start meditating. And what better time to start meditating if you haven't already done so? Okay. Okay. If you can hear me well, can I get a little thumbs up? I know there's only one of you at the moment, but if you're hearing this, can you give a thumbs up? Just so I know that, and if not, if the sound quality is poor and it's not, the video or the audio isn't good, then just don't. Right, so today's meditation is going to be around really getting to grasp with what the basics are for a mindfulness practice. We hear a lot of people talk about meditation and mindfulness, and we build up a picture in our minds of what mindfulness is or meditation is. So if you've never tried it before, today's a good opportunity to have a go. Try a few of the meditations and then really try and build it in and make this a part of your daily routine. Okay, so the meditation is going to be a 15-minute meditation. And after that, you can go about your day and we can kick things off. All right, 8 o'clock. So thank you for the 2 people that have joined in this morning. Really appreciate you taking the time. Like I said, as I do this more often, the advertising is going to get better, and so the frequency will come in. But for you, what I really want you to do today is try and, as you're listening to the instructions, really take them on board. And for these next 10-15 minutes, let's give it 100%. All right, so one of the reasons why we practice these daily meditations is to prepare ourselves and to help train us for dealing with tough situations, difficult situations. And what we're going through right now with this coronavirus, people losing their jobs, and if you look globally, like even in India, it's not so much the issue of the virus now, it's the issue they can't get food. So there's mass migration, and just the stress levels globally are through the roof right now. So one of the things that we can do to not only mitigate, but to help us prepare for these really tough situations is to develop a mindfulness practice. And that's what we're going to be having a look at today. So before we begin, I want you to find a comfortable spot where you can sit down in your room, and you don't need to do anything more, but just find a nice place where you can keep your back straight. And if you can keep your back straight, imagine, if you will, you're being held up by your head in the middle. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to begin by taking in 5 deep breaths. Okay, and by taking in a deep breath, it's really trying to, as the air goes in, to access areas of the lower lung where we don't often tap into. And then when on the exhale, to really empty and squeeze out every last drop of breath. Breathing in and breathing out. Again, really try and apply 100% concentration in this process. This is just going to be for 10 minutes. So if we can really diligently follow this for 10 minutes, we'll see some significant gains. The key thing about learning meditation is learning how to be in the present moment and in the now. It might be terminology you've heard before, but as you're taking these breaths, I want you to listen deeply and take away a few key notes. Full inhale and a full exhale. 4 seconds of breath on the way in. 4 seconds of breath on the way out. We spend the majority of our days either worrying about something in the past or dreading or anticipating with the layer of anxiety something to come in the future. Very rarely do we spend our focus and our attention in the present moment. And the one way we can do that, this is what I'm going to do today, is learning how to follow and pay attention to the flow of the breath. Okay, so return your breathing to normal. Okay, and although it's been something that we've done since the day we were born, the inhale and the exhale and the breathing, very rarely do we spend time to observe it, to notice what's going on and to pay attention to it. Okay, so I would recommend highly that you close your eyes, but it's not absolutely necessary. And in doing this now, as you're breathing in and you're breathing out, the first part of this exercise is to really understand, where do you notice the sensations of the breath? Where are you feeling them the strongest? As the flow of air goes in and as the flow of air goes out. Some people notice the strongest sensation as soon as the air enters the nose and they feel it in the top of the nasal passage, that cool air rushing in. Some feel it as the air rushes down their throat, down into their lungs. Very common one is as the diaphragm and the stomach rises and falls with the breath. Where do you notice it? Take a few moments to really understand where that feeling is strongest for you. And on the exhale, notice every nuance of your breath as it goes out. As the different stomach muscles contract and move and the lungs squeeze the air out. Where do you feel that the strongest? Okay, let's take 5 breaths where we diligently pay attention to each step of this process. Okay, so breathe in. Where are the sensations the strongest? Is it different every time, or is it the same? Is it always in the same place? Or are you noticing the full movement from the inception of the breath all the way through to the exhale? Now on the inhale, I want you to feel a sense of real strength in the body, in the shape. And as you exhale, a strong sense of peace and calm Think of it like this. Imagine we were asked to take notes as someone dictated to us. So they're speaking and we're trying to write down as accurately as we can what's being told to us. Sometimes the faster they go, we may miss out words and we might just get notes. But in the same way, as you're noticing the flow of the breath, if I asked you, okay, write down every detail that you notice as you're breathing in, as you're breathing out, how accurate would you be? How much stuff would you miss out? And that's what we're doing. Is from the moment the breath goes in, can you feel it in the nose? Can you feel it in the throat? Can you feel it at the back of the throat? Can you feel? It's on you to give it 100% attention and observation. Okay, let's try this for a few minutes. Breathing in, breathing out. Notice each nuance, each different movement of the breath. Okay, now so we're setting ourselves up. So this is the baseline. So even if you were to do meditation for another 50 years, this is the key concept. It's the idea of always paying attention to the breath. Now, what you might have noticed now is that the mind starts to wander. Okay, so you're doing the exercise and it's an array of thoughts that will start popping up. For some of you, it's, this seems difficult, or I don't understand it. For other people, oh, this seems like it's quite repetitive, or it's quite easy. Some of you are thinking how tired you are, or the email you need to send, or the jobs, the tasks that you need to do later on. Or you may be thinking about stuff that you did yesterday or the day before. Regardless of whatever thought you're noticing pop in your mind, as soon as you do notice that you're lost in a thought, I need to go Sainsbury's later. And as soon as you notice that, it's with kindness, bring your attention back to this exercise, back to the breath. Where are you feeling the sensations of the breath? Okay, back to your breathing now. Feel it. Feel it as the air nourishes the body. Feel it on the exhale. As we rid ourselves of carbon dioxide, preparing ourselves to take on a new load. And as we're doing, it is the nature of the mind to wander, to throw thoughts our way. And we're cultivating a skill to observe when such thoughts arise. And as soon as we notice a thought arise, gently guide it back to your breathing. Okay, let's take 5 deep breaths now. Have you ever noticed the little pauses, the little space between the inhale and the exhale? Try and spend a little time there now. Okay, remember, we're not chilling out, we're not relaxing, we're observing. We're paying attention. Okay, again, back to normal breathing. Think of it as this. Imagine you were walking a set of dogs, a pack of dogs. And as you have a thought, imagine, if you will, let's say, oh, I'm worried about what's going to happen with my job in Corona. Okay, so that thought fires up. Imagine that one of the dogs in your pack just leaves and just kind of makes its own way out. So that is akin to the thought you're having. So your job is to notice as soon as one of those dogs leave, so that you could just gently guide them back to the pack, corral it back into the group. In the same way, if you notice that a thought arises, then if for this exercise, for these 10 minutes, it is your duty that as soon as you notice that you're thinking, is to come back to the exercise. Okay? You're thinking about what you're doing, what you need to do later on today. For now, back to your breathing. Where do you find the sensations the strongest? That's where your attention should be. I don't get it. This is too hard. Okay, that's another thought. With kindness, bring it back. Back to the breathing, back to the sensations. Anchoring ourselves back to this breath. Cool tip to take away today is when each moment that you bring your attention back to your breathing, every time you stop yourself from drifting away in thought, you're anchoring yourself back, you're bringing yourself back to the present moment, the now. It's a terminology we hear quite often. Say, "I'll just be present, just be in the now." But what does it actually mean to be in the now? Breathing in, breathing out. If you're lost in thought about something else, come back here. Come back to the voice. When we spend the majority of our day lost in thought, lost in thinking, we're literally like in zombie mode, where we're physically there, but our mind is elsewhere. We're eating dinner, but we're not noticing the food go down our mouths. We just notice the empty plate. We may drive to work or walk to work and realize that we've arrived at the destination without even noticing, without taking any time to observe and feel what that journey was like. Well, that's how we live most of our lives. And a way to snap out of that, and a way to really enjoy this existence, is that ability to, on demand, bring it back to the present moment, where we're not lost in thought, but we're actually experiencing what's going on right here and right now. Okay, back to our breath. As I was doing this exercise for many years, one spot for me is just underneath the nostrils, on the lip. As the air goes in and the air goes out, this is one area where I can really feel a strong sense. And because of that, it's become my anchor. So as I'm breathing in and out, where do I feel the sensation the strongest? It's right here. And I pay that place attention as the breath goes in and out. And as I said, we have 70,000 thoughts a day on average. During this exercise, these thoughts are going to arise. And again, when they arise, we bring it back to this now, to the present. Think of it as doing a repetitive martial art, a kata, or the old wax on, wax off in the old Karate Kid movies, where we're taught to wax on, wax off, wax on, wax off. And we find this to be not useful, don't see the point of it. Okay, but what we don't realize is that by doing those repetitive movements, we are training and preparing ourselves so that, in that example, when he needs to have a fight later on, and his master attacks him, and he says, wax on, he's able to block almost naturally, as if it's part of him. And in the same way, we practice this, okay, we get lost in a thought, we bring it back. We get lost in a thought, we bring it back. And that is strengthening our muscles in our mind to get into the habit of doing it. And so, for example, you go onto social media and you see, another amount of deaths in the UK from the coronavirus. Instead of letting that trigger off another thought, which is, oh no, what am I going to do about this? And what's going to happen to schools and to nurses? And in that moment, as soon as you notice that negative title, or you notice another news article about corona, As soon as you notice your mind starting to think, having that secondary and tertiary thought, you can nip it in the bud effectively. You notice, you see the phone and it says, X amount of deaths. In that moment, you can choose to get lost in thinking. Or in that moment, you can say, oh, I've noticed a negative thought, but I'm going to bring it back to the present. I'm going to deal with this on my terms. Okay? Okay, so let's end this on 10 big breaths. Okay, again, eyes closed, recommended. Breathing in, really expand the lungs and feel a sense of strength as you're doing so, filling your body to the maximum. So on the exhale, releasing all the oxygen, releasing all that carbon dioxide. Breathing in strength and confidence. And breathing out calm and peace. Okay, keep going with the breaths as I give a reminder to the key takeaways. The first point is, as you sit down to do a meditation, or when you're on the tube, or you're on the plane, or whatever the case may be, it's getting the habit of following what it's like to breathe. All the nuances, all the sensations of the breath. Boring though it may sound, what this allows us, it sets the scene so that when we do drift off, and we will, it's guaranteed. You can't sit 1 minute without your brain giving you thoughts. So when they do, we're developing our skills to observe them. Because when we observe a thought coming, we can do something about it. The remediation. So we focus on the breath. A thought arises, just as our dog in the pack is wandering off. Number one, we develop a skill to notice. We want to notice as soon as possible when the dogs are leaving so that we can gently guide them back into the pack. And in the same way, what am I going to do later on? Or, I've got to take the kids to wherever. Notice that thought. But for now, for these 10 minutes, we're going to guide it back to the present moment. Okay, 3 big breaths to end the meditation. Okay, and in your own time, open your eyes. So just like any exercise, like going to the gym, if you do it once or twice, it's going to have not much effect on you. You'll probably end up coming out hurt and feeling sore. But when you maintain and you keep it up, that's when you really start to see some benefits. And the science shows if you can maintain at least 11 days in a row of practice, the chances of you continuing to practice thereafter increases significantly. So one challenge you can accept is, how about 5 minutes a day? Whether you find guided meditations online or whatever, or even if you want to be in silence, where it's, again, noticing the thoughts, and as they arise, we bring ourselves back to the meditation. When the thought arises, we bring it back to the meditation. All right, for more information, mindfulnews.uk for all the meditations. And I'm going to be sending up posts and giving significant warning when the next live meditation will go up. We'll take it from there. All right, thank you for joining.